They only did.
Hey, good evening. This board of trustees meeting is now called to order. First agenda item is the introduction of new college employees. Adam, do we have any new college employees?
Yes, Director, we do have several new college employees. We'll start with Martin.
I don't know if they're in the audience, and I don't see them here now, might be on Zoom. But I'd like to introduce two longtime Olympic College employees in new positions that they started on February 16, 2023. Dr. Teresa McDermott and Elaine Williams-Bryant. Dr. McDermott and Ms. Williams-Bryant have been with Olympic College for a combined 55 years, working in that time in a variety of roles. For Teresa, those roles have included Shelton Campus Director, Director of the Career Center, and Associate Dean of Transitional Studies, among other positions. And transitional studies where students can earn their high school diplomas, learn English as a second language, and build the skills needed to succeed in college level classes. And Elaine has also served previously as Associate Dean of Transitional Studies, then called Adult Education, as well as Interim Vice President of Student Services and Dean of Student Development. Within our instructional division, I've been working on aligning our academic division structure with our guided pathways clusters. The formation of the healthcare division in the fall with Dr. Alicia Nye as Dean of that division was part of that restructuring. Now I'm pleased to introduce Dr. Teresa McDermott as Dean of Business Technology and Transitional Studies. Her program mix will include our business transfer program, business management, business and accounting technology, and organizational leadership and resource management, along with culinary arts and computer information systems. Her division also has two bachelor's programs, VAS in Information Systems and VAS in Organizational Leadership and Technical Management. Dr. McDermott's division will continue to include transitional studies, and I'm happy to announce that Elaine Williams-Bryant has accepted a position as Associate Dean of Transitional Studies, reporting to Dr. McDermott. Ms. Williams-Bryant will supervise the areas of basic education for adults, English for speakers of other languages, high school completion, and IBEST, which stands for Integrated Basic Education and Skills Training. I'm grateful for Teresa and Elaine's deep institutional experience and excited for the expertise they will bring to their respective areas and to Olympic College.
Thank you. Congratulations to both.
Next, we have Wendy Belvin.
Hey, so I manage. I manage the Welcome Center, and we have a new employee, and I wanted to introduce her. She is not here physically, but she is on Zoom. And her name is Jenna Elliott. She is a native of Pacific Northwest and a former OC Running Start student who went on to Cal State University in Fullerton and got her master's degree or her bachelor's degree. And her first language is American Sign Language, as she is the daughter of deaf adults, and she has been able to use that skill at the Welcome Center with students. And we're thrilled to have her as part of our team. She's passionate about education, and so I can't see her there. I thought there would be a screen, but Jenna, if you're there and want to say hi, that'd be great.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Wendy, for the introduction. It is nice to meet all of you. I've been at OC for a little over a month, and I love it a lot. The job is something that I'm very passionate about, and it's very nice to meet all of you. I'm so excited to join the team.
Welcome, Jenna.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Next, we have Don Weber.
Good evening. I'm Dawn Weber. I'm the Director of Advising, and I am very excited because we have 3 new student success coaches that started this academic year. We've been growing our advising team, and so I get to introduce our 3 coaches. If all just sit in the back row. First, we have Getty Simone, who started with us in the Advising Center on October 1st. Prior to that, Getty was at the Running Start office, working as a customer service specialist at that office in September 2020. He came to us a lot of institutional knowledge and knowledge of our students. Prior to OC, Getty has a background in law and community outreach and social media management. He was an administrative aide with the Kitsap County Prosecutor's Office and a legal aide with a law firm. In the Advising Center, our success coaches are all aligned based on the guided pathways. So Getty is working with the social sciences and humanities program. He already has an active caseload going, been working very hard on establishing that caseload. One of our biggest program areas is human services, the psychology, social work. Our substance use disorder professional counseling programs are very popular, and that's his pathway. So he has a background in psychology and a minor in women's and gender studies. So he's a really great fit for working with those students. On the side, Getty enjoys working on music and illustration projects and also sews. And I've seen some of Getty's handiwork, making handbags. So this has brought a lot of energy to the team in October. Next is Samantha Andrews. Samantha started with OC on January 9th. She has a master's degree in elementary education and has been working as a middle school math and science teacher in Kitsap County for the past 6 years. Prior to that, she worked as a vocational rehabilitation counselor and a case manager of at-risk youth. So those skills really are important here working in the case management model in OC Advising Center. She will be working with our cross-check firms, including business, computer information systems, manufacturing, and technology. She grew up in Yakima, moved to Kitsap County about 8 years ago. She has 2 children. Her oldest was just accepted to Washington State University's engineering program, which is very exciting. She's also a photographer. She has her own photography business, Sammy Rose Photography, and she specializes in portrait and family photography. So she does own people. Thank you, Samantha. And last we have Yi-Young Zhao. Yi-Young started on January 17th. Graduated from University of Minnesota in December, and drove out to Bremerton in the middle of winter break in the storm. He has a Bachelor of Science in Psychology with a neuroscience minor. And at the University of Minnesota, he worked for almost his entire 4 years in the psychology undergraduate advising office. Half of that 2 years with a peer advisor. And in that office, over half of their students were transfers from community colleges. So a lot of experience working with community college students. He will be advising in our STEM pathways, supporting engineering, math, the pre-health program. He was born in Beijing, China, and he moved to Pennsylvania for high school, which he started his freshman year and has been in the United States since then. He also does graphic design and video editing and making flyers. We've already put those skills to good use in our office. And he's also a private pilot. It's over 160 hours of flying time. So the team has done amazing. You have to learn a lot in a very short amount of time in the Inviting Center, and they all just jumped right in. They're really quick learners. They just do whatever is asked of them, and they're very enthusiastic. And I'm really excited to have them part.
Well, good. I believe that is everyone.
Here's what she's sorry, and she just told me about 20 minutes ago. I apologize. I'm here because I was not prepared to do this. Well, that's what I thought too, but then she said, no, she decided to do it tonight, but she's not here, so we're just gonna go with that. I am here to, I'm sorry, my name is Jennifer Flavor. I'm Dean of Enrollment Services here at college. I am here to introduce Ms. Sarah Baker. She is our new Assistant Director of Running Start. She previously worked at Washington State University as an admissions counselor serving Cook County. Actually, one of the first outreach people I met when I moved to Bremerton 15 years ago as an outreach person for the college. And I used to see her around at all the events. She said, go for food. I'm going to take that out. And then she started here. We took her on Running Start as a part-time success coach, and then she moved over to a full-time success coach, and then we built her back as our assistant director of Running Start, which we're very excited about. She was a high school social studies teacher and varsity cheer coach. She recently completed her master's in school counseling after her counseling internship at Hopewell Middle School and Bremerton High School. She is excited to transition into this new role, and she is the Running Start STEM student success coach. And she's also going to be coordinating our Running Start outreach efforts now, since she has been doing that for a while too in the local community for the last 15 years, or probably longer than that since I met her. And in free time, she says she's doing a taxi service for her 2 children, Jackson and Lincoln. So, just say hello. Thank you. Welcome.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah, well, actually, for Teresa's group, I had 2 other people. I'm not sure if anything is with the lot, but really know as well.
They're not here. I was told they weren't here, so she was going to do that next time.
And I think I have one more then, but it's the Erica Co.
Hello all, good evening. Erica Ko, Dean of Libraries, Tutoring, and College Success, and I am here with the great honor of introducing our 4th full-time tenure-track librarian, Caroline Evergreen. She joined us in November, moving from Georgia right before we got some snow. Caroline will be providing reference and instruction, and she will also be helping our Open Educational Resources team promote and support OER. Previously, Caroline was a reference and instruction librarian at Georgia Highlands College. She has an MLIS from Valdosta State University and is pursuing an EDS in Instructional Design, Technology, and Media from University of West Georgia. In her free time, you can find her enjoying nature with her dogs by day, quilting by night, and relaxing with her family. So welcome.
Welcome to our.
And she's with us on Zoom.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the welcome. I can see all of you guys. I know you can't see me, but I'm very excited to be here. I am really excited to join Olympic College, and just everyone I have already met just in my brief few months here. It's been wonderful. Everyone's been so kind and so welcoming. So thank you so much.
Very welcome. Welcome to us.
Welcome.
Thank you, Erica.
All right, with that, I will read
Okay. So on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I want to welcome all of the new employees and people for new positions to Olympic College. You're welcome to stay for the remainder of the meeting, but it is not required that you do so. Before we go any further, the board would like to reorder this evening's agenda slightly to prioritize tenure-related action items. In order to do so, we will also move up public comment so that members of the community have the ability to comment on any potential board action prior to that action being taken. Do we have any public comment this evening, Adam?
Chair, yes, we have two. First up, we have Deb Montez.
Hi, good evening. Hi, I'm Deb Montez, WPEA staff rep for Olympic College. Just want to give some updates to everybody. The legislative session is ongoing now in Olympia, and we have our lobbyists, or your euphemism for lobbyists, for Seamus Petrie, who is representing all our issues there for classified workers all across the state, as well as other WPEA members. We recently had 2 all-vendor meetings here at Olympic College in person. So it was very nice to be able to put some faces to things of people I've only seen in Zoom and Teams. That was on the 16th and the 17th. We just had many issues that these members have here at Olympic College. The list includes, but is not limited to, desk audits, position reviews, departmental reorganizations and impacts of those changes, and non-communication from administration to those affected employees until after the changes take place. The idea that the administrators will say to them that they cannot talk to them about the decisions that have been made, which I hope to look forward to working with Labor Relations and Human Resources to inform them on the difference between information sharing and direct dealing, because there are clearly misunderstandings with the administration. I also look forward to working with them, Labor Relations and Human Resources, through the labor management process to discuss issues that are upcoming, to really encourage them to teach folks, administrators and supervisors about our CBA, the WPEA CBA. There is a lot of turnover with those administrative positions, and unfortunately, they're causing a lot of consternation and issues with employees with not being aware of what they're supposed to do as far as the contract is concerned. So, thank you for listening.
Thanks, Ben.
Next up, we have Dr. Alicia Knight.
Hello, Board of Trustees. I'd like to pass, can I approach? I'd like to pass off. Thank you. Are you timing me yet already?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Thank you for the camera. Well, thank you, Board of Trustees, for allowing me to comment. My focus today is really on our faculty and the positive impact they're having on students, and in particular with the future of healthcare. And so I shared with you a letter I'd like to read out loud from actually the community member who was fortunate enough to have one of our students care for them while hospitalized. So this particular member of our community says, "Thank you for doing what appears to be an excellent job of preparing your student Dylan to work with patients at St. Michael's Hospital in Silverdale. I spent a few days recently as a patient critical care unit and was lucky enough to be there while Dylan was on duty. As a patient, I found him to be caring, supportive, assertive when necessary, and very helpful. He made me feel like I mattered, and he was quick to respond when I asked for help. As a retired college faculty who work from colleges located in Washington, Maryland, and Germany, I want you and Dylan to know the nursing program with Olympic College is doing an excellent job of preparing future healthcare professionals. I wish you well. So I just want to highlight, there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, a lot of hard work in particular in healthcare professions. And Katie Tritchler happens to be the faculty member that I'm highlighting today as someone who is role modeling what it means to be a quality educator and certainly is mentoring the future of nursing. And it's not only just me as the administrator, but it's also the community members that are celebrating how important our faculty are to the future of our community. So thank you for letting me share.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. So with all the negative publicity St. Michael seems to attract, as you know, we have a lot of OC people in the nursing area working there and doing great work like this. So thanks again for the information.
And all public comment.
So we will now adjourn to a executive session. The purpose of the executive session is to evaluate the qualifications of an applicant for public employment or to review the performance of public employees, to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency, litigation or potential litigation. The executive session will last for 15 minutes, after which time the meeting will reconvene or the executive session will be extended.
So the board in person will go off the executive session room. Those that are taking part in the executive session who are attending virtually will be asked to join a breakout room. So just hold recording moment and you'll get
Yeah. It's a lot. Yeah, all right.
Next to one of the things that they're actually doing a lot of work with this. The latest. It was so. I'm not sure it connected that well.
Like after you let me in, but I don't. And so they're also for work, so I wanted to come back.
Oh, thank you. Is Okay, we are now reconvened out of executive session and we'll proceed with action items 4 through 7 on the agenda. So action item 4 is tenure status for Adrian Belize. Arden?
The tenure committee recommends, and Dean John Vaughn, President Marty Cataluzzi, and I concur that Adrian Belize computer science faculty be granted tenure.
We have a motion. Okay, we have a motion and a second to grant tenure to Adrian Belize. Do we have any discussion or questions? Seeing none. A motion has been made and seconded to grant tenure to Adrian Belize. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Anything? Motion carries. I'd like to congratulate you on behalf of the Olympic College trustees. We look forward to seeing your future contributions to the college and community.
We have Dean John Vaughn, on the remote with us to introduce Dr. Adrian.
Good evening. Sorry, my Zoom decided to quit just as it was getting ready to come to this. It's really my pleasure to get a chance to introduce you further to Dr. Adrian Belize. We really appreciate having had him here these last almost 3 years. He received his bachelor's in computer science from the University of Texas at El Paso, and then went on to work as an intern as a software developer for both State Farm Insurance and ExxonMobil. He then went on to earn his PhD from the University of Texas at El Paso in 2020, just before starting here at Olympic College, and did some really interesting research on how user programs can implicitly determine their total memory usage. He also has a really interesting record of volunteering to teach computer science to high school students. And he took part when he was in El Paso and the Microsoft Philanthropies TEALS program. And that certainly was really appealing. Even before he arrived here, he was already contacting Bremerton High School about the possibility of doing something similar to that here in Bremerton, showing you the interest that he has in outreach and especially with working with educating high school students as well as, of course, our Olympic College students. During his time here, he also has been very helpful in working with Washington State University to develop a course in digital logic in support of their electrical engineering program that they offer here in partnership with us. And so we're really pleased to have Adrian here, and I want to congratulate him on being awarded tenure this evening.
Thank you. No, it's just, I think you all do a very nice to me, and in fact, challenge, especially transitioning from start of pandemic. I imagine that's common for you if you're a recommended work. And computer science is always a long focus for it. How can you shake up in here, especially if they're fantastic instruction videos and please. Yeah, no. Computer science. And we hope to see if we can expand the program for more advanced courses and perhaps even for you to be at them. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
That's very, very exciting. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. Congratulations.
The tenure committee recommends, and Dean Alicia Nye, President Marty Cavaluzzi, and I concur that Ashley Ron, medical assisting faculty.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I will make a motion.
Second. Okay, a motion is made and seconded. Any discussion or questions? Motion has been made and seconded to grant tenure to Ashley Wan. All in favor? Aye. That's unanimous. Motion. I would like to congratulate you on behalf of the board of trustees. We look forward to seeing the future contributions to the college and community. Congratulations, Ashley.
We have Dean Alicia Nye to introduce Ashley.
It's my privilege and honor to introduce Ashley as a tenured Black faculty. She has, I will start with a little bit of history. She has a master's and bachelor's in nursing from Western Governors University, and her associate's degree in nursing from Olympic College happens to be one of my own students. Prior to tenure, Ashley was an adjunct faculty for the medical assistant program since 2019. So she already sort of stepped her toe into it. She has been committed in developing her craft as an educator by attending the TILT method that we use. She's also went to a boot camp for, they call it NAIRD, but it's the accrediting body for medical assisting. Probably saw the writing on the wall that would be important for her. She also has been improving herself by attending the Quality Matters courses. And a little bit of background of industry, she has worked as a nurse in home health, medical surgical telemetry, and long-term care. So she's got a wealth of experience that she offers. She has supported the MEDA program as program coordinator at the start of her tenure. So not only did she have to develop herself as faculty during this process, but she also led the program. During this time, she has become a registered medical assistant. So that's an addition. She's a registered nurse, and she thought for credibility of her leading this program, she should take that national exam. And so she did that on her own. She has been the primary instructor for the MEDA courses and mentored and supported students as they develop their skills and knowledge for their careers as a medical assistant. She advises, cheerleads, and role models students in achieving their dream, no pun intended, of entering the medical assistant program. But I do want to say, speaking of achieving the dream, because we just came back from that conference, her students are really about achieving the dream. Those students are very marginalized and vulnerable. It's a very vulnerable population. So she is a gift with those students. She is currently leading the accreditation process for MEDA, all while learning again this role of being a faculty member. Here's a quote from one of the students. Today I realized, and believe it or not, when I was reviewing this, it's actually one of our students that wasn't successful in our program. So this is in our nursing program. So this is how it translates to achieving the dream of pathways, getting students back on pathways. She actually was one that accomplished this. So this is a student quote from that. Today I realized that if it was not for you contacting me to enroll in the medical assistant program, I would not have. The day I got to have a real job, my life got better. Thank you from the bottom of my little heart. If it was not for you, I would still not know what to do with my life. I got to use all the skills that I learned at school here. I'm so proud of myself. Another quote, I learned so many things because of you, Ashley. Because of your patience, kindness, immense support, and most of all, you make learning fun. Cool. I had to throw that in there. I got to observe her, so I learned I don't have to be perfect, but it's okay to try. I learned not to be so hard on myself. I learned trying hard is always best, even if it doesn't yield perfection. Thank you, I am honored.
Yeah, I'm super excited, especially since I'm a graduate from OC. It's awesome to see
the students who are coming here and growing. A lot of our student population, as you said, is marginalized. We have a lot of military spouses that are trying to get, 1 year of college so that they can have a career as they move with their spouse. We have a lot of students that are low income and need a job right away. They can't do the nursing program right now. And I'm so excited to help them get a career that they love and show them my love for healthcare. So I'm excited to keep building this program. Yeah, thank you.
I'm excited.
The tenure committee recommends, and Dean Alicia Nye, President Marty Cavaluzzi, and I concur that David Arden, nursing faculty,
Okay, do we have a motion? Grant tenure to David Arden.
I'll motion. Grant tenure.
For a second?
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded to grant tenure to David Arden. All in favor? That makes it unanimous. The motion carries. I'd like to congratulate you on behalf of the Olympia College Board of Trustees. We look forward to seeing your future contributions to the college and community.
Back again. One of the things I'd like to say before I start with Dave, is amazing, is I meant to acknowledge in Ashley Wan's process, her committee, and the commitment of her committee. The chair, Barbara Parker, Bonnie Adams, and Susie Cook, as well as Deborah Lamb, the facilitator of Ashley Wan. So I don't want to go without recognizing their support in Ashley Wan's tenure process. Thank you for letting me do that. Now I'm going to start with Dave. So Dave, I'm going to quickly acknowledge his committee. Allison Wareham, who is the chair, is from nursing. Eva Temple, who's part of MESH. Virginia White, who's part of nursing, and then the facilitator, Susan Cook, again, is all supporting Dave in this process. So let me give you some accolades of Dave. So Dave started his tenure, of course, in the fall of 2020. He has a master's in nursing from the University of Washington. Shall I say, go Huskies? There was a good number there, so. Also, he has his BSN and his ADN from Olympia College, it was homegrown. His experience as an adjunct faculty for Olympia College began actually in 2013, so he's been part of us for quite a while. He's been an asset to the tenure process, as well as understanding the culture at Olympia College as a graduate of the ADN program in 1998, managing you here. His experience as an ICU nurse, nurse manager, and leader on multiple system and department committees at various healthcare systems is a benefit to our programs because he's a leader already built in. His highlights of his career in industry includes winning the American Association of Critical Care Nurses Gold Level Beacon Award in 2019. Really proud of you for that. In his first year of tenure, I asked him to take on a pretty big challenge. I'm just going to be transparent. It was probably the most difficult clinical course to ask of him in his first quarter to course coordinate, supporting new adjunct faculty in the course and learning himself actually how to coordinate multiple clinical sites, 6 instructors, and 70 students. He did that with courage and pride and worked through all of the bugs. It was a lot, it was COVID. He also was taught the practical nursing program and in the ADM program. In his first 2 years of tenure, he has led faculty in the PM program supporting the student governance of the 2 PM cohorts. One of Dave's greatest gifts, in my opinion, is his ability to connect with students and meet them where they're at. Bottom line is he meets them where they're at. Dave teaches the foundation of physical assessment skills, and this is key to success as a nurse. You have to have great physical assessment skills. His expertise as a nurse in critical care and exceptional teaching and learning skills has trickled down to continuity in our physical assessment student expectations from quarter to quarter. A comment from the student is, my favorite class. I look forward to learning from Professor Arden every week And I wish I got to have him as a professor next quarter. I can't clone him, sorry. Dave has grown over the last 3 years and used feedback from students, peers, and me as the administrator to professionally develop. To support his expertise as faculty member, this is the key thing about Dave, is he has successfully passed the certification for nurse education. He is a certified nurse educator, which I would expect him to do during his tenure process. So I'm very proud of him for that. Olympic College is fortunate to have the quality and dedication Dave provides in his role as nursing faculty. He is a #1 student center and at the same time has high expectations in growing the next generation of nurses. I am honored to work with Dave.
Where were my parents around here? I want to thank Dr. Knight and the whole team, the nursing program. They've been super supportive of me through this whole process. And there was a lot more to it than I realized when I first signed on the dotted line. It's going to be fine. But this tenure process has taught me quite a bit, and I really appreciate the way I've grown. They have my inspiration is my grandma. So just to come back to school when I did and make it through here. She actually got a degree in journalism and writing here in the 70s, and she was already in her late 60s. So that's my legacy. My youngest is starting school here in the fall. Just very proud to be here. Thank you.
Okay, we have one more.
We have reemployment.
Yeah, one more tenure-related item is reemployment of probationary academic authority.
Chair Ekman, the tenure committees recommend, and President Cataluzzi and I concur, that the attached list of probationary tenure faculty be reemployed during the 2023-2024 academic year.
Okay, do we have a motion? Okay. We have a motion to approve the reemployment of the listed probationary academic employees for the 23-24 academic year. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion or question? The motion has been made and seconded to approve the reemployment of the listed probationary academic employees for the 23-24 academic year. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. The motion carries. Thank you, Margaret. We will now resume our agenda as presented. Which means we're moving into our study session for tonight. We have Rich London, CPC Line Director, and Jill, Rosie, Business Systems Analyst presenting on CPC. I think we're going to switch.
Is it because we want to take the jersey for them to go about the screen? Wonderful.
Slide. All right, thank you, Adam. I'm Rich London, CTC Lead Director, and we're going to talk today about where we're at with CTC Lead. I'm going to talk a little bit about business process management, where we're at with our business processes that are converted, and then I'd like to spend just a few minutes talking about CTC Lead governance, which is becoming kind of an important subject now. Now that we're at this phase of the project, Then I'm gonna turn it over to Jill, and she's gonna talk about some really fun process improvement stuff that we're working on. Okay, thanks, Adam. So these are the roughly 60 business processes that have been part of the scope of this project since the beginning. You know, when I used to come report out several years ago, we were getting ready and all those activities before go live. We were working on training, we were working on business process fit gap sessions, user acceptance testing, going through all those activities. It was this group of 60 business processes that were guiding that process. So you can see they're split up by pillar, human capital management, campus solutions, and LIDAM. So these are the roughly 60 business processes that we transitioned from those legacy systems to CTC. Okay. So since we've gone live, we have tried to move as many processes as we can to the right. So many of these landed in remediation, especially those in finance and some in HR. So we moved these business processes into benefits, which is where you want all of them. It takes a lot of effort. It doesn't happen just by turning the system. So we've had subject matter experts, pillar leads, putting in hundreds and hundreds of hours to move these business processes basically to the right. So the way we define these is remediation. If a business process is determined to be still in remediation by the subject matter experts, it's having significant issues, it's not achieving consistent results. If it's stable, we're getting consistent results. The output's fairly predictable, but it may not yet be efficient. And we just added a new one. They include workarounds outside of CTC, particularly in finance, where we have to take information, put it into a spreadsheet, work it, and then put it back into the system. Benefits realization is where we want to be. That's when you get these process efficiency, achieve the benefits that we documented before implementation during all those common process workshops and change impact analysis workshops. So to move these processes from left to right, we use remediation workshops and tickets to state board, especially for things that are in remediation. We've had hundreds of remediation workshops here locally, and we've submitted thousands of tickets to state board. Once a process is up in that stable range, then we use local benefits realization workshops. And that's what Jill's going to tell you more about today. And enhancement requests to state board. Some things work and they're stable, but they really could work much better if the system was enhanced. And so we'll talk more about this in the next slide. Thanks, Adam. So these are all the enhancement requests that have been submitted. This is where the action is now at CTC, is the colleges are all starting to recognize areas where it works, but it needs to work. So you can see a total of 151 events submitted, 39 are still pending, 11 approved, 9 yet deployed, 89 approved and deployed, and 12 canceled. So it's a pretty impressive number, actually, that they have deployed 90 of these. Until we put these metrics together, you know, we all have a sort of a more negative view of this, but they're actually not doing too bad. And you can see how they're split. You would expect most of them to come from campus solutions. Okay. So this is the last slide that I'd like to go through, and I'll turn it over to Jill, but this is what the CTC Link governance looks like now. Now, I'm a member of the college collaboration group on the left. There's roughly, you know, at a typical meeting, there's around close to 100 people from the 34 colleges. So we take things like the enhancement requests, we kick them around. Sometimes Jill has come to present to that group on one that we submitted. The problem is it doesn't have any voting authority. So we can recommend, but that's as far as it goes. If we do recommend it, it goes up to the working group where we don't have representation on that particular group. There are several colleges and several state board members, but it's not what you would call democratic because every college doesn't get a vote. And then immediately it goes up to the STAC Strategic Technology Advisory Committee. We do have a rep there. Dr. Taga is on that committee. And so we do have a voting member. So I noted the two problems on the left, the two issues that are beginning to materialize now. Prioritizing answer requests. You know, how do we get ours prioritized so they move through? And State Board's struggling with this too. When we had our Guided Pathways survey, what was it, 2 weeks ago? State Board leadership was saying, hey, we're struggling with this too. How do we prioritize all these requests? And they know there's a lot more coming. The other problem is, what if the functionality is only used by 1 or 2 colleges? The way this works over in the collaboration group, we take a vote. And for example, there's only 3 or 4 colleges that are using Student Alert in CTC Link. We're one of those colleges. So we voted on that. It'd be 4 to approve, and either 30 would abstain or they would vote against it because they're not using it. It doesn't have high priority. And Marty did a really nice job explaining that to State Board last week or the week before on the initiative Jill's going to talk about. So we'd like to come back in a couple of months with a recommendation on how we should change the whole governance process. So Dr. Taga and I have been discussing and working on it. When we come up with some ideas with Jill, we'll take it to Dr. Kowalski, and then we'd like to bring it here, make a recommendation. Any questions?
So who are the main players in Southern City? You said we have Dr. Congress on one. Are these other colleges or are these state board people?
So the working group has, I think, 7 colleges represented and like 5 or 6 members from state board. One of the other problems is that it's sort of the same group all the way from the working group. The people that are co-chairing the college collaboration group are members of the working group. And it's a very pro-state board approach. What we're looking for is somebody to be an advocate for the college. And so far, we're not seeing that.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll turn it over to Jill.
Hey everybody, my name is Jill Tarosi Sid. I work with Rich. I'm a CTC Link Business Systems Analyst. And I would say probably half of my job is doing production support for the system. And the other half, I get really excited about, it's about process improvements. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about some process improvements that we've seen since we went live, as well as where we're going to go in the future. I'm also going to outline how we go through kind of improving our processes. So the slide that you see in front of you, this actually takes you through the student life cycle. So on the very bottom, you'll see kind of the typical timeline of a student's journey at OC. Prior to CTC Link Go Live, we had 11 separate systems that the student would need to log into, to use, remember credentials, etc., to get through school. One thing that I think we should celebrate is now we have a total of 5 systems that students are using to navigate through school, and we have the potential to have only 3 systems. CTC Link has kind of enveloped 6 processes, and then you see on the very right-hand side, Calendly and MS365 forms. Those are kind of areas that we're working to improve our processes. Okay. Now, kind of shifting gears a little bit about process improvement. I think we've been talking about guided pathways. I've heard it several times during the discussion today. And we were trying to kicking around ideas, how are we going to leverage CTC Link to support guided pathways? CTC Link, it does have something called academic planner. And that provides academic advisement reports to students that shows them what requirements that they have yet to complete, what requirements they've completed, and what requirements are in progress. It allows students to plan their time at OC by placing individually classes into terms. Some shortcomings that we are finding through discussions with advisors and other folks around the campus is that the planner does not allow students to see their entire progress through their journey here at OC. They have to click a bunch of boxes. They can't expand their whole planner at once. So they don't really have that pathway. They can't see themselves like walking through their journey. And then students don't get a warning if they plan a class for which they don't have prerequisites, or if they plan a class that isn't taught in that particular term. So we kind of sought to find solutions to these shortcomings. So can you do the next slide? And we looked to one of our partners, we looked to High Point, which is currently our partner. They provide us the student experience module in CTC Link. So when students log on to CTC Link, through the student homepage, it actually takes them to High Point. But students don't understand this. It looks like OC, it's branded like OC, and it just is a really nice student user-friendly dashboard. And so we went to High Point to see how they can help us through guided pathways. They have this product called Degree Planner, and this addresses all the shortcomings that I talked about in the previous slide. But one thing that I love about it is it readjusts the planner if students don't enroll in a planned requirement, or if perhaps the students fail. Right now, that's a manual process that requires students to go in, be proactive, and make that change. The High Point Degree Planner does that for them. It shuffles them around, and it also takes a look. It takes a look at the prerequisites. So it's going to shuffle those courses around, but it's going to shuffle them in a way that the student, number one, can pass those prerequisites. Number two, it's going to put those classes that are shuffled into terms that the classes typically offer. A benefit of using High Point is it's an add-on. It's not a third-party integration. So High Point sits inside CTC Link, and the data is shared in real time. So that's one of the benefits of using High Point as opposed to something else. The next slide. So just kind of some other highlights of the Degree Planner. It creates automatic sequencing. So one of the shortcomings was that students have to individually move classes per quarter into their planner. And this takes about an hour for a student to do this. Degree Planner has automatic sequencing. So it uses data that we've already configured in CTC Link to read those requirements. And it also uses our guided pathways maps that we've been creating to create the ideal schedule with students. Students can then move those classes around. They can work with their advisor to see how a part-time schedule will look. And so I think that the automatic sequencing and making it easier for students to plan their time here is fantastic. And that allows for a dynamic and personalized pathway. And again, it also allows for students to check those prerequisites and typically offered. Can you go to the next slide? One thing that I also love about High Point is that they have analytics. So they can take those classes that students have in their planner and they can give us a course demand report. So you can see on the left, anything that's blue that falls below the line, that means we have, or this is the example, that means we have fewer seats available than we have in demand. And so this really helps instruction plan appropriately. One other thing is you might find you have a kind of a one-off. A student might have planned a class and you might only have a demand for one. So for one person in a particular term. So you can do proactive outreach to that one student. They can be identified from this report, and you can do proactive outreach to maybe have that student change that class in the future. And it also provides some nice graduation statistics as well. Projected graduation statistics. Next slide. There are a couple other products for High Point I wanted to also highlight. Planner is kind of the core. There are some supporting products. And the next one is Schedule Builder. This allows students to take the classes that are in their planner, and the system, High Point's Schedule Planner, will give them any variation of schedules. The beauty of this is students can put in their availability. So say they have childcare issues, so they're only available from 8 to 10, or when their kids are at school, 10 to 2. They can put in their times they're available, and the schedule builder will give them a schedule based upon their availability. That takes students a lot of time, typically, to try to fit their classes around their schedule. One thing I also, there's also a highlight here, is Highpoint saves that availability. So for instance, we can go back and find, okay, in the fall, how many people wanted to have classes couldn't have classes, say, on Friday morning? So is everyone putting in, say, for instance, that they don't want Friday morning classes? So we can look at that retrospectively and kind of adjust our schedule going forward. If you have no one available, from 8 to 9, maybe we want to start, a certain class at 9. So those analytics really can help, I said, with the guided pathways. Next slide. The last one I want to talk about is advisee relationship management. And this is kind of an advisee outreach program that Highpoint offers. And what's different about this than the the advisor knows within CTC Link is this quickly allows advisors to filter their student populations. So advisors can put in any number of optional filters, and they can say, hey, give me a list of all my students who received any grade below 2.0 last quarter. And then they can target specifically communication to that group of students. Or, they can say, hey, give me all my students that got 4.0 this last quarter. I want to target them and say, good job. So the advisee relationship management system, it allows for that, that really targeted communication to keep our students on track. One other thing about the advisee relationship management system is it allows for scheduling of appointments. And that's not just for advising. So if students need to schedule appointments, say for financial aid or other offices around campus, those are all kept in the advisee relationship management system. And the benefit of using these systems in tandem is that they all are on the student's main dashboard when they log into CTC Link. They're going to see their appointments. They're going to see what classes they have to schedule. So all of these things are just kind of working towards increasing the student experience or making a more user-friendly experience. Okay. So I just kind of wanted to shift gears a little bit. Are there any questions about Highpoint?
Yeah, are these active right now?
So no, Highpoint actually, thank you for the question. Highpoint's something that we would like to start implementing. We are working on getting like a group pricing for all the things that we want to implement. And then we need to get approval from state board to implement Highpoint. Because like I said, because it sits inside CTC Link, we have to have their approval to kind of put it into the system. We talked to other schools and no one else is using Highpoint. But we don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. We think that we want to we want to lead the way, as Rich was saying with Marty, and we want to kind of show the other schools like this, we can do this without a third-party system, without a third-party integration. Great. So I just wanted to talk about, Rich talked about how we get to benefits realization, and we do that through work. And we have a process that we've been using, which is metric-based process mapping. And this it kind of takes traditional business process mapping and it kind of takes it up a notch. So you go ahead and you map your process as you normally would. And during the second pass, you're going to add some metrics for each step. So unlike traditional process mapping where it's just sequential, we're actually looking at our inputs and outputs. And then we're looking for things like percent accurate and complete. We're looking for time spent, like hands-on time spent, as well as lead time, which is the time that something was in someone's inbox. And then when we're done with that process, we then look at the map and we decide what activities are value-adding, what are necessary, and what are not, and what are not necessary. And those not necessary categories, you can go to the next slide. Those are what we target in the process for waste. So we want to go ahead and notice the waste. We want to then do a root cause analysis and then design the future state and countermeasures to improve the process going forward. Next step. So we do this with a process that rooted in Lean Six Sigma methodology. Just really quickly, we define the problem, and we find it, and to define the problem, we use the business mix mapping. We measure the current performance standards, and we're gonna set our goals for the future. We analyze the root cause. We have an improvement / implementation process that we do, and then we the control, where we make adjustments to new processes, ensure our goals are being met, and we specifically target some key performance indicators for this particular process. Next slide. So I just kind of want to show you what this looks like in action. So this is an example from financial aid. We were asked by Dr. Glazier to take a look at our financial aid process from the time the students FAFSA information is uploaded into CTC Link to the time the student gets awarded. So you can see it starts out kind of messy in a workshop, and then we take that workshop material and then we put it into that kind of nice little neat product that you see on the right-hand side. And that's the define stage. Remember, we're looking for those pain points. Next slide. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to measure. So we're looking at those pain points. We can pull data out of CTC Link that kind of will give us, instead of just a hunch that things are maybe 85% accurate or 85% complete, we can pull some data out of CTC Link to see where we are right now. That establishes our baseline. And then from this baseline, we can then improve our process. Next slide. So for this particular example, our problem statement was students are taking longer than expected to fulfill FA obligations. Going through the root cause analysis, we realized it was a communication issue. And so we focused our implementation for this particular problem on communications. And you notice that we have, you get the countermeasures, sorry. So we don't have solutions. And there's one good reason why we don't use the word solution is because we want to be kind of continuous, an organization of continuous improvement. So we don't want to just say this is the solution and then stop there. We call these countermeasures because we're trying to improve the process. Then we're going to check the process to make sure it's working right. And then, even after we check it, we're going to still look at it again to see if we can do any other improvements. Next slide. So this is an example of the implementation plan that we do during the workshop with the people doing the work. And I think that's another important process here. So the people doing the work define what activities are going to get them to their desired state. We activity and the responsibility, and then the dates, and this is kind of put into a Gantt chart later. So the dates and more specific deliverables are worked out through a second workshop. So we have the implementation plan, the next. And then again, this is our control. So these measures of success, again, come from the SMEs or anyone who's in the workshop. And so the measures of control that we use for financial aid, they want to increase their checklist completion time. And so just a checklist is, a student fulfills their FAFSA, and financial aid says, okay, you need to now do X, Y, and Z before we process. So we want to look at checklist completion time to see if our process is indeed speeding that up. And then just the checklist completion percentage. How many of our students are listening to us? How many of our students know about these checklists and how many of them are actually completing them? And then overall, we want to look to see if we're improving from the time that ICER is uploaded, which is that FAFSA data, to the time the student is packaged and awarded. So these are measures of control that we will look at and we'll come back to as well. So, like I said, Lean Six Sigma is not an end process. You just keep doing it over and again until you find your processes and make them better. Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
There's one question. Yeah, sure. Go back where we started, the hierarchy of decision makers. You said that there's issues now with setting priorities, and he does that. I think we made it that there was a change in what. Can you elaborate a bit on that?
Well, the state board is searching for a way to prioritize all these enhancements. And they mentioned it to us, and they got this survey 2 weeks ago. So that told me that they don't have this, that they're not rigid in this particular structure. We here locally and a few of the other colleges determined that this isn't going to work. We think about it, the example that we gave on student work, we're one of the four colleges using it. So, how do we get that all the way up to the top of the priority list? So, what we're kind of leaning towards recommending is, prior to go live, we used common process workshops. And we facilitated those mostly down the way here. And had a really good response. We have, 30 colleges show up. And we developed a process that was more common across the colleges. And as you know, an ERP can't work 34 different ways. It just can't. And so we're kind of leaning towards a recommendation to the that's probably going to recommend something like that, where when there's an enhancement request, we would take the 2 or 3 from that area, if they're similar, and then run that through something like a common process workshop, where we would get all the colleges together and, develop an assessment of that and then prioritize.
So think about Friday. I'm curious, can you come up with some monetary solutions? We've got 4 schools, we really want this, we're willing to pay for the enhancement work. That's what the issue is. It's just a matter of how we allocate labor.
I think that's the other big thing to consider. So what we'd like to do is come back in a couple of months with what we're paying now for maintenance. And then we'd like to show you the org chart. Of course, some of us think that it's a little too heavy on what used to be production support, and they actually need more developers. And with that many enhancement requests, they could probably 20 developers. So we'll make that part of the recommendation.
We're behind you.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you. You done?
We're done. Any more questions?
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
And again, thanks to Rich and Jill, that was a great presentation. A lot of complexity there, but this is a big project and still a lot of work to do. So, moving on, next we have a new section on our agenda, you may notice, titled the Board of Trustees Business Meeting. And the goal of this section is to enhance the reporting out done by the Board of Trustees, specifically as it relates to the various subcommittees that the board is in the process of forming. And we'll present a couple of these tonight. But before we move into committee reports, do any of the trustees have something to report?
I do. I just want to say that I was honored to be able to represent the college at the 2023 National Legislative Summit. It was 64 of Washington State colleges, employees, and faculty and trustees that attended. We were well represented. And also, we got an opportunity to meet with a lot of our legislators, Senator Marie Cantwell, Senator Murray, and also Congressman Barry Kilmer. And they spoke very highly of our community colleges, and I'm hoping that in the future things will be better for us. And so we actually presented our legislative priorities, and they accepted them very well. The students from Tacoma, they did an excellent job presenting their colleges, and I hope that next year we'll be able to take some of our students to that sort of thing. And also, I told Congressman Kilmer, he had flags up in his office, and I did not see Olympic College flag, and I'm going to send him 3.
Yeah, I heard one of the major takeaways from Senator Cantwell's office this is, when she was asked, what can the trustees do for her? She said, spend the money.
Right.
And everybody, of course, goes, oh my God, what do you mean? And she talked about massive amounts of money, billions of dollars that are allocated for higher education that nobody's getting. And so she's saying, get your grant writers working. And so anyway, there's going to be some follow-up with her office among the other colleges. Maybe a college is going to collaborate. If one college can't just by the grant. You usually hear that. Send the college spend money.
We're going to spend.
That's right. Okay, trustee Miller. Trustee Coleman.
Yes, trustee Ekman. I want to say that I'm very proud to say that I did have an opportunity to be able to attend the 2023 Winter Conference on January 23rd and also the 24th in Olympia. And I attended the new trustee orientation, which was very insightful and very informative. I was able to gain a lot of insight, trying to make different connections, and also able to know that Olympia College faced some of the same challenges many other different colleges face as well. And so I did attend that one. Also on last week, February the 14th through February the 17th, attended the Achieve the Dream in Chicago with several other faculty members, and really had a good opportunity to be able to learn and spend time with each other. And I want to say thank you so very much to Dr. Marty Cavaluzzi for keeping us connected with Achieving the Dream. I think it's a very something that's very helpful to bring success to many of our students. Attended many different sessions. But one of the things that stood out, I guess, for me the most is that I think on Thursday, there was a young man he was one of the Achieving the Dream scholars. And he really stressed the importance of having just faculty that really cares. I think when we, as a college, when we have faculty that really show our students we care, not only tell them, but also show them we care, I think it goes a long way. And whenever one student becomes successful, we all become successful. And I want to say to all of our faculty members that I really appreciate the hard work. I know it's hard work. I really appreciate what you do for the students because I've seen lives being changed because of it. So thank you so very much for the opportunity to be able to, go to Chicago and be a part of Achieving the Dream. So thank you so very much. That's all I have, trustee.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman. Thank you for coming today. I know you had a medical procedure done today. It's very unpleasant, and I didn't expect you actually to show up tonight. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, I think Trustee Gonzalez is not on tonight. So let me move on. I've got a few items to report. Just seconding the comments on the legislative, which we did down in Olympia. We had Pastor Coleman, we had Marty Cavaluzzi, and Brett Pollinger, representing student government. We met with Michelle Collier, Randall, Travis Brewer, Drew Hansen, and Christine Rolfes. It was a very busy afternoon. And anyway, what we were presenting was the state board recommendation to request a budget for the biggest one being for competition for faculty and staff, another for workforce education, and then some other smaller items here. But this is where we go down and talk to the legislators and get them behind supporting the community colleges in the budget. And that gets matched up with the governor's budget. And the governor put forth the budget, but he hasn't fully funded what we requested. So this is where we kind of get them pushed in the direction of fully funding. So anyway, that was good. And I think Brad is going to report a little later on subsequent meetings. Yeah, we tuned him up. We showed him. Let me see some other, just board, matters. We're gonna have our spring retreat, Friday, it'll be all day Friday, March 10th. We're still working on the location. We're gonna talk about funding and the current status of the budget, changes to the Open Public Meetings Act, board committee assignments, and go back and spend a little more time with our board and college goals. Then due to the ACT Spring Conference, we need to change the date of our May meeting. It's scheduled to be May 16th, and we'd like to change it, I'd like to change it to May 23rd. And so anyway, I'd like to check your calendars and let me know if that works for you. It actually will work. There's four Tuesdays and 5 Tuesdays in May, so this actually puts it on the same as our regular meeting anyway. We're going to start planning our summer board retreat. We'll set a time and date and location at our spring retreat. And at that meeting, I think we're going to focus tentatively on tenure, performance review processes for the president and the board, and trustee recruitment and onboarding. We've also got study sessions listed out. We had CT Link tonight. Very appreciative. In March, we tentatively have, we're going to focus on updates to the guided pathways and achievement training programs. Also some special reports on success rates in gateway classes. I had a conversation with President Galbaluzzi today, and he threw out some statistics that I think we need to get better familiar with. In April, we're going to do a Puget Sound Naval Shipyard overview. Personally, I've been here 3 years, and I really don't understand what goes on at the shipyard, so I'd like to learn more. I think the full board would benefit from that. And in May, kind of talk about accreditation. We don't have anything in June, but there's a number of topics. So anyway, other board members, if you have things that you really would like more information on, please let me know. The Finance Committee, we're in the middle, I guess, nearing the end of an accountability audit, and talked to Ron Ellison today, and I guess we're coming close to finishing that up, and we'll know more in a couple of weeks. We also talked about, I think Rich alluded to it, that, we pay each college is paying substantial fees to the state board for CTC. And I think we're looking at what those fees are, and are we really getting, there's some other colleges starting to question what those fees are used for. The last item I wanted to bring up to the trustees is I'm working with, I think Rich, you're taking the lead on this, working with Adam on the dashboard report. And what this is going to be is it's going to kind of encapsulate where we are in a lot of these projects. I mean, we had Alicia report out last month, like Amy brought it up. The Allied Health Program, we need to keep that front and center of what we're doing there. So part of this report will have an update there. We'll have a continuing update on CTC Link. We're going to have some standard financial information, where we are in enrollment. The reports we've been looking for a while from HR and regarding staffing. And I know the HR department's working on that. And we've got to get CTC Link, I think, sync a little better there and make that report easier to generate, but we want to move forward. OER, some reporting on what we're doing there. The innovation building, which we had a report on a month or two ago. What is the status of that? What are we doing? So we keep that understanding. And then there's a number of other components to this report. I don't know, can you give us an idea when you might see at least a crude version of that?
We're planning on this. We're working on requirements definition right now, and Lynn Kaiser has that side of the development side, and we've had one workshop to document the requirements for the development side, and then Jill's been gathering the requirements for the content side. So we've got two halves to this thing, right? So we're working on requirements for both, and we're taking those requirements to executive team in March for approval, for review and approval. So once they approve it, then those requirements will be allocated to a design back to Lynn, And, they'll start building it, and we'll start pulling it in time.
Well, it's gonna be, I'm very excited about getting this report in place. It's gonna give a lot of visibility to the entire column about where we're placing the emphasis, what kind of progress we're making, and kind of what we're focused on. Any other comments? Okay. So what's with the agenda? I think we're to the consent items. So approval of the draft minutes of our January 17th meeting. So do I have a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded to approve the draft minutes of January 17th, 2023. Regular Board of Trustees meeting as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous. Motion carried. Okay, moving on to information and action items. Yearly events calendar.
Mr. Chairman, Board of Trustees, couple items I would like to highlight, and Tom, you already mentioned that the ACT Spring Conference will be taking place in Walla Walla on May 15th through 16th. We're going to participate altering the board meeting. If you would like to attend, please let me know so I can make your arrangements. Additionally, once we set that date for the new board meeting, we'll also lock in the date for the tenure reception that we do annually to celebrate those who receive tenure. So more information will be coming out on that. I believe will be the following week, the last week of May. Any questions about the upcoming events? Oh, one last thing. We are working with area legislators to bring them to campus for town halls. We have a couple right now. They're finalizing dates. As soon as those are locked in, we'll make sure we're aware. During those visits, they will do their community forums. And they also like to try to get into classrooms. And so we'll be reaching out to faculty. We know when they're going to be on campus, try to find appropriate classrooms.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, they're really excited about it when we talk to them.
Absolutely. Representative Hansen and Simmons jump at the opportunity.
That's great. Okay, any other questions about the calendar? Okay. Next information item is budget update for the month ending December 2022.
And
I think Angela Hamilton will be presenting that this evening.
Chair Ekman and the other Board of Trustees, we look forward to the upcoming dashboards. And I also would like to congratulate all the new tenured faculty. Last week, we met with the Finance Committee to discuss the cash on hand and the operating budget to actuals for the period of December 31st. Are there any questions from the board?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I guess I would just like to comment, I missed my earlier comment, but it's related to the budget. You know, there's a number of state initiatives that are in process, working through the legislature right now that have a significant impact on our budget. You know, we're already in the hole, but there's things like increasing the minimum salary to qualify for exempt employees. And all that work is said and done at the college here. In conform with that, we're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars of impact and cost to comply with that. There's also and anyway, there's just, you know, in a time of a tight budget, you've got, you know, the legislature is busy passing new initiatives and none of them are funded. So we've got to dig into our pockets to figure out how to be actually funded. Okay, next item is 2023-24 fee requests. Some new and changes.
Thank you, Chair Ekman. Good evening, members of the Board of Trustees. Presented for a first reading and for your review are the fee requests for FY 23-24. I'd like to acknowledge that there are representatives here tonight from the various units with fee requests to answer any questions that you might have. To review very briefly, Student Services has two fee requests that they've submitted. The first is a change of the Student Services fee from $2 to $4, a $2 increase, and that's on a per credit basis. And that's to enhance enhance services to students. The second fee that's been proposed is for proctoring services. That's actually already in place and has been in place for a number of years. They are requesting a $5 increase from $25 to $30, and that's on a per exam basis to maintain the self-supporting nature of the proctoring services. That was a late ad, so I don't know if you saw that in your materials, but that's now on our list for approval next month. Instruction has, it looks like 5 fees that they are adding or that they are requesting changes for. The first is the parenting education course, and they are proposing to delete that fee. That was a $16 fee that was, I believe, charged on a per class basis. The next fee is actually the next 4 fees are nursing fees, and these are new this year. The first is for clinical placement. It is a $100 fee on a per placement basis. Second is the nursing exam software fee of $74.92 per exam. The third is a nursing lab fee, and that is a $35 per lab course basis. And then finally, a nursing simulation fee of $20, and that's on a course using the SimLabs basis. Any questions?
Yeah, I've got just a couple. These new nursing fees, do these represent new service, or are these services we've been offering and that haven't been recapturing?
That's exactly it, the second one. When the Veterans LP and the BSN program came about, I forgot about fees. And so we've been sort of, losing sort of out on that fee. And so finally, I'm getting that through. So it mirrors the other programs and the cost to that.
Okay, thank you. And then I have one question on the student services fees. And maybe I'm confusing things here, but we're talking about doubling their fees, and I know Brett's going to talk in his report about what they're doing to deal with the huge surplus reserve that they have. Why are we raising fees when we've got all the money?
Heather, I believe, already started out here.
Yes, thank you.
Am I that transparent?
No, we like to be prepared.
So basically, there are 2 separate classes. So this fee is dedicated for salaries and stipends for coaches. And so because we're trying to have a livable wage, and because we want to support students coming out of the pandemic, they need extra support. And so in looking at this fee, we're needing to increase it so we don't keep running it into rent and keeping all of these salaries and coaches stipends up to a livable and competitive wage.
No, sure, I understand that.
And I told it, no, but it's a separate fee than what the students are sitting on. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
And just one additional note on that. This is a fee that was instituted more than a decade ago.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
had not been increased for
7 years.
7 years. And so we are in a perpetual state of catch up. And even it seems fairly drastic if you're looking at a doubling of the fee. But that fee has not been increased. And as you were saying, a lot of our obligations, consistent with Guided Pathways and increasing number of coaches, when we, at the beginning of the pandemic, when we started and we shifted to a professional staffing model for success coaches, and the faculty advisors went back into instruction, we had about $200,000 to staff and advise incentive. And so we do have some guided pathways funds. So we have $1.5 million from the state that is spread across student services, communications, and instruction. But what we're hoping to get out of this increase is additional coaches, success coaches for advising and for other student supports. And like Dr. Caution said, it is really focused on salaries. And so the longer we wait to increase these fees and to really catch up, we are actually across the state, and we look at where we are with fees, we're behind a lot. In fact, it's going to be fairly impossible for us to catch up. Like we will never catch up to where a lot of the other colleges are because we had not increased our fees at what I would say is a reasonable pitch, like other colleges were. And so the train's left the station for a lot of fees where we should be, but and it does seem fairly drastic. We understand going from 2 to 4 seems like a lot, but it still brings us to, I think, within a reasonable amount given where a lot of the other colleges are.
And then you have a plan to, over the next several years, to kind of bring this forward and parity with the other schools?
Yes, continuing to increase them at a reasonable rate like other colleges. Yes.
If you remember the article that Mayor Erickson shared about showing the major increases that we had the highest fees, it wasn't the highest fees, we're trying to raise our fees in line with other colleges. So that's why it appeared that we had.
But that's how it plays out, right?
Yes,
right.
exactly.
And the article, right, it wasn't the highest fees, it was the largest increase. I mean, here we're doubling that. So yeah, that's going to play into, not a favorable narrative for us. But in objectively speaking, the amount is still not as high as other colleges.
Well, so, Marty and I get love notes when we explain that.
Yeah, those love notes are forward.
Share the love. Thank you, Doug. Any other questions? All right, well then, it is recommended that the Board of Trustees accept the FY 23-24 fee requests as an information item. These fee requests will return next month for a second reading and expected approval. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move on to reports for the board. City government.
Nice to see you all.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, some updates since I was last here. The spin down plan and the assessment that we did on the survey. So after reviewing the survey, the student interest survey, or after reviewing it, SGOC found that out of the total 513 responses, there were 18 duplicates. So that put us at a number of 495, which is slightly under our goal of 500. But after assessing the data, SGOC determined that OC students want to see campus wayfinding signs, renovation of the locker rooms in building 9, and gender neutral bathrooms, at least a couple campus wide. Moving forward, SGOC will meet with facilities, communications, the city of Bremerton, and security to discuss pricing, accessibility, and contracting for these projects. I've already talked to Sean, and hopefully I can meet with security soon, and we can start game planning for where we're going to place these maps around campus, and also talk to a few other people with regards to locker rooms. So excited about that. We plan to have a report for this by mid-March. Next item, the SNA budget process for this upcoming year. So far, the committee has met with 10 requesters and has started the initial phase of deliberation. The committee is pleased with the success of the new set of questions given to fund requesting entities, thanks to Brandon Gall and Rosie. The new set of questions provide more detailed and holistic overview of the program's operations. The questions were inspired by Chapter 6 of prioritizing academic programs and services. Heather Caution and Lee Campbell helped Rosie tailor concepts from the book to be applicable for non-academic academic programs. So the club update, since my last update, the Native American Indigenous Club and the Sustainability Club been chartered. The last club congress meeting was held on February 14th, and the next Bremerton Club Fair will be on the 23rd from 11 to 1, and Poulsbo Club Fair will be on the 28th from 11 to 1 as well. And then not listed is Shelton, and the date and times to be determined, but it'll be sometime next quarter for that. So our day in Olympia, on January 24th, President Cavaluzzi, Chairman Ekman, Trustee Coleman, and I traveled to Olympia to speak to some of our district representatives. We were fortunate enough to meet with Senator Ross Randall and Representative Caldier Hanson Simmons Tour. Although very nerve-wracking for me, it was my first time in that type of environment. It was very exciting, and I think the knowledge gained from those 15-minute sessions definitely helped Rosie, Toby, and I prepare for our CUS advocacy day the following week for students in Olympic College. So I think it went really well. And then on to the CUS Advocacy Day, which is the Council of Union and Student Programs. On the 1st and 2nd of February, Rosie Harper, Toby Agte, and I attended the CUS Advocacy Day in Olympia with our advisor, Malik Campbell. We met with Representatives Caldier, Hanson, and Simmons and advocated for bills HB 1559 and its Senate Twin Bill, which is 5566, which I'm just going to read the brief summary of those bills, and which is basically institutions of higher education shall each establish a student basic needs task force comprised of staff and faculty, student representatives, and community organizations with expertise in accessing basic needs. Each task force shall develop a Hungry Free Campus strategic plan for its campus beginning no later than April 1st, 2024. So with regards specifically to the Senate Bill 5566, I've actually been in communication with the Tacoma Community College student president, Madeline Spruce, who's been working very closely with Senator Randall on this. And I think Thursday I'll be hopefully meeting virtually with Senator Randall and her and figuring out what we can do, student government college can do to help advocate for that bill. And we believe it'll be very important. And then ones that I have listed in the one page that I printed out for House Bill 1470 that died in 2019. But that bill specifically, it was bad timing based on the time of year in the legislative process. But the summary for that is basically making higher education more affordable, providing incentives for the use of open source instructional materials, adding new sections to an already in place bill. So, like I said, it was bad timing to try to advocate for that bill, but I think just putting it on the radar and then as well as going into the next SGOC, I think preparing them to advocate for a reintroduction of that bill is very important.
Well, I think it's especially important to hear that from students. Sure thing.
Exactly, yeah. And then, Trustee Bryant, I know that you mentioned that you were in DC and I'd like to, and you wanted to see Olympic College there. Next month, we're actually at SGOC, it's going to DC to do the same exact thing. So hopefully we represent the school well. Very well. Right.
Here, there, and
I'll make sure to do that. Any questions?
You're doing a great job.
Thank you so much.
I would just comment that Brett did such a great job of representing the college. We're in one thing. No, truth be told, they don't care about the president or the trustee. They all only want to care about, the college friend.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, great job.
Thank you. I will.
Okay, moving on to the Washington Public Employees Association Board report.
Direction to get an order down.
Good evening, trustees. Thank you for this opportunity. 7.2A was covered pretty much by what Jeb Montez shared with you. Otherwise, that's really good. And what we've been presenting over the last few months. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the faculty senate report.
So I have two things to talk about tonight. I wanted to update you guys on our meeting with Barnes and Noble. So we have a little bit more specific information about what our concerns are related to that. So I think we had maybe I want to say healthy discussion with the representative, and a long list of really good questions. So I think I can summarize our main concerns as the fee that they're proposing for the per credit fee would not be negotiable as part of the contract. It would not be something that the college had input on or determination. Barnes and Noble could raise that or lower that. They said there was a formula. When I asked about it, she said, well, it's not really a formula. And that's not really the thing that you should say to a math faculty member. You're looking at algorithm, formula, calculation. You can't tell me what that is. It starts making me wonder where you got that number. So that was concerning. The other thing that was concerning to us is it's a charge for any class. So you either opt in or you opt out for the whole of the quarter, whether your class uses an OER textbook or not. So you would pay $100 for that free textbook. One of the faculty members in the chemistry department asked if Barnes and Noble would be reimbursing. So some textbooks are written by a thing called OpenStax that has funding and stuff and things like that. They said no. So they persisted and asked, well, you don't need you're making money off of something that someone else is paying for, because I mean, textbooks don't just for free. Like somebody somewhere is doing something. And she said, no, we're not making money off of that. And I said, well, I don't know what that $100 is. And they are, I mean, they give money to textbook companies, Barnes and Noble and publicly of these things. So that was a bit concerning. And then the fee would also make all of our classes out of compliance with the RCW about low cost classes. So that's a problem. There is other problems, which I'll get to. So the other problem that was that we were unaware of prior to this is that the faculty member would determine the mode of delivery for the textbook for the whole class. So I would have to decide if the whole class is getting an ebook or the whole class is getting a printed copy of the textbook. When we asked why that has to be the case, they said it was stocking issues there. So first they complete their promises that a student will have all of their material on the first day. So they said in order to order them ahead of time, we have to know this. I said, well, there's a lot of reasons why a student might want a different version of a textbook. That also seems to be problematic accessibility-wise. And we have a lot of students who live in places where the internet just isn't the same. Like, or it's very unreliable. I mean, we see this weekend, like, and I live blocks from here. Like, so that just was really concerning. The other thing we're very concerned about is student privacy and what information that Barnes and Noble would have access to. There's a lot of problems with Barnes and Noble's education division. There's lawsuits about it. There's rules about who can apply. They seem very surprised by those questions and not prepared for any of that, which was interesting. We're also concerned about this adding to a student loan debt and the impact that this would have on the college's financial services office, and just how all that would work. The other thing that we're concerned about is the timeline for ordering. So what she said was that students would need to place their order 30 days before the start of the quarter to guarantee that first day. I don't know, like, they don't register that early. A lot of them. There's a lot of fluctuation in that. So it seemed to me that their name that they're promising there is not something they could deliver, and they also would need the faculty to make the decision in the order 60 days before, which I don't know what we would do if the faculty members had already been in class. Anyway, so there's a bunch of concerns about that. So we're meeting with them again at the end of the week to see if they have any answers to these questions, but I highly doubt that we would change our opinion about this. So we've made a couple recommendations. There are a couple of schools, Tacoma and some others, that have versions of their own bookstore. So we've asked to have presentations from them. The people at Edmonds have had a presentation from Solid. They were fairly impressed with that, and it addressed a lot of the concerns that we would be having, especially the fee for an OER class versus not. Football wouldn't require that. They're also about 5 years out from this kind of a process, so we have some time to decide if we want to do that or not. So anyway, we've also asked for a presentation. So we are trying to come up with ideas and discussions, but right now our big concern is where do we go from here? So things we don't have answers to at this point is what is the timeline for making a decision? When do we need to make a final decision? What is the process? What other bookstores are we looking for? And when will we presentate the fee? Because I know that it might seem like there's a long time to make this decision, but if we're going, whatever we're going to do, we need time to get that ready before the marginal contract expires. And if you want faculty input, our contract availability impacts that. So things like that. So that would be important. My last comment would be just again about administrator evaluations. We still do not have a way for faculty to give feedback to their direct supervisor or any other administrator in an anonymous and systematic way. This lack of opportunity leads to a myriad of problems. Students or supervisors are unable to address issues. It's hard to determine what are widespread concerns, and there is no opportunity for improvement. We are frustrated and disappointed. I'm also frustrated that there doesn't seem to be much follow-up on this issue, and so we look forward to serving progress in that area. Thank you.
I'm sorry, could you just, on that last one, just explain again, I missed something.
So we came to the Board of Trustees and asked about administrator evaluation.
Right.
There still isn't a process.
Yeah. And so you presented it to us, we don't do that. You did that to the HR?
We talked to HR, they've come and given us a listening session, and there hasn't been anything since then. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
I appreciate the issues you raised, but you weren't a noble thing. I mean, you now we're going to do that, so that's.
Yeah.
It was good to hear.
It was interesting. There were some other interesting things that I was surprised we couldn't answer, to be honest. We asked if students would be able to access the textbook offline. So that might tell some of it they didn't seem to know. They said that it would be through the learning management system, which implies that they have to be online, but the fact that they couldn't definitively say yes or no was kind of weird. And then another thing is it would incorporate any online homework system that we use. And when I asked about incorporation of the grade book, so the student would have like a bookshelf in Canvas, you would click on it, whatever. Right now, faculty members can choose whether they want the grade book to be integrated automatically or not. So essentially you link it up to whatever textbook publisher you have and the grades automatically get. But the success of that depends on what thing you're using. So some integrate very well, the scores are updated correctly, some are not. So faculty are interested in whether that would be happening and whether that would be for some or not. I will say the other thing that was quite interesting was they continue to use St. Martin's as their big example, which is a private school in Tacoma, and it is not anything like us. So we finally asked them to stop using that as an example. If they didn't have an example that was more like us, particularly with the veterans population, then wouldn't be interested in that.
So they brought this take it or leave it deal to a number of community colleges.
Well, I think so far, as far as I know, and anybody can correct me if I'm wrong, as far as I know, the only people that are as far into the process as we are is Ed. I don't think anybody else is quite in this position, but I don't know.
Okay. So they backed off the, take it or leave it.
Well, that's because you can see it.
But we have another, I got a different point as I was told that we have another year.
Yeah, but that's because they couldn't integrate it. It's not because they don't want to do this.
Sure.
And in fact, from what I can tell, they said that date in the faculty meeting, and that was news to everyone in the meeting. They haven't communicated that with the rest of the hall.
Well, they should just put in an enhancement for us for the state. Done.
Get in line.
I don't think I have anything polite to say in response to that, so, but I won't say anything. I do have to say, it was one time where I was grateful that people didn't work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the combined administrative report to the Board of Trustees. President Kavlis, do you have anything additional to report?
I just want to thank, Elizabeth for that detailed, comments. And, point to, again, there's a single person I've met this in favor of, so we're going to pick something else. We're, in the process of finalizing the timeline of who's doing what and what those dates are. So we'll get that out to college soon.
Any questions for President Kavlis?
No.
Yeah. Mr. Morris, anything additional to report? By the way, I asked that you might see it's down fiction. Every time I think about you doing these setting up tables. It's gonna be quite entertaining. Okay, Mr. Cockroach, do you have anything?
Yeah. The first thing I forgot to say was thank you to the foundation for the OC swag bags that I gave to the newly tenured faculty. So thank you to the foundation for those. I would like to offer my congratulations to the faculty awarded tenure today. Earning tenure is among the most important milestones, if not the most important in the career of a full-time faculty. And I will say that having been faculty, there aren't a lot of milestones. It's important to sort of celebrate this, and from here on, there's a lot of deepening the practice of being a faculty member and also building, a career of the institution of service to students. But I want to make sure that we celebrate and just say that each of these faculty members has followed a thorough, nearly 3-year process that included extensive professional development, self-peer dean, committee evaluations, observations of teaching, student evaluations of teaching. A lot goes into it. Faculty are at the heart of our mission to offer quality education and support so students achieve their educational goals. Great faculty, teaching in disciplines and programs like the ones represented today, computer science, medical assisting, nursing, attract students to OC, and just as important, they keep those students here. So we look forward to the careers of Professors Belize, Juan, and Arden and celebrate with them their achievement and their commitment to student learning and success. And finally, I wanted to express gratitude for the opportunity to be part of the team that attended the ATD Dream Conference last week. Hearing from community colleges across the country, and I want to say that they said there were about 2,500 people there from colleges, not just across the country, actually across the world. But hearing from all of them about their efforts to close equity gaps, streamline and expand pathways, and build economic opportunity for students and graduates was invigorating, catalyzing, and it was overwhelming. And I'm looking forward to debriefing, discussing, and implementing much of what we've learned in that conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin.
And Mr. Devine, additional to report.
No, there you are.
Does anyone from the executive team who did not provide a written report this month have anything they would like to share? Trustees, have any further questions about this report? Okay, moving on. There's going to be no additional executive session this evening. So moving for the adjournment, any items to be good of the order? Hearing no items, this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.